Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
And that's Echo.
I have a dog named Echo.
Aww.
He's just waiting until we got loud. And he's like, hey, I want in on this.
Yeah. So if I disappear at some point, it might be because he needs to go out or something. I don't know.
All good. Hey, Savannah says, puppy. What's going on, Savannah? Grog's podcast. Hi. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? How you two doing?
I'm groovy.
I'm good.
We have an interesting energy, I feel, going into the show. And a special guest.
Oh, he's getting unusually loud tonight. That may happen sooner than later.
That's okay. He's gonna bring the salt.
Yeah. He's just setting the precedent. That's cool.
Savannah watched Stranger Things season 4. Cool. Did you fall in love with Eddie like everyone else apparently did? It's weird, the Eddie love. I guess Barb kind of got the same thing, but I understood it with Barb because she was such a I don't know.
She didn't deserve any of that.
She didn't deserve it. It was a whole justice for Barb thing. And she's not just not a stereotypical character. She seemed like she looked straight out of the 80s and not in the cool way.
Right.
And to me, Eddie's fine, but he's such a kind of stereotypical 80s rocker, loud type character.
Mm-hmm.
Savannah says, I still love Steve Harrington and freaking Robin, and I need so much Robin.
You know, I like her too, and now that I found out that she's the daughter of Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, it makes perfect sense, and it makes me like her even more.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We got, season 4 focused on, suddenly Stranger Things. Season 4 focused on her quite a bit, but I feel like, she was new in season 3, so it's gonna get a more interesting focus, like introducing her to her. Mm-hmm. But this season, it just seemed like she didn't have that much to do. They kind of put the band geek, she has a crush on the girl in band thing, subplot or whatever, or character thing. Mm-hmm. And otherwise, she's just kind of not bumbling, maybe a little bumbling. Mm-hmm. She felt more sidekicky this season.
Right.
But whatever, they have a lot of characters, so they can't focus on every character every season, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And they need another chick. They have to have 2 chicks to go off together.
It's true, I guess.
Yep, to the asylum and whatnot,
Savannah says she looks so much like her mama. And she does. Savannah did not like what they did with Nancy and Steve this season. I agree. Mm-hmm. That is another criticism. I don't remember if we got into it when we talked about Stranger Things, but yeah, I don't care for it. And as Melanie said, it seemed forced. The little between what's his name? Nancy's actual boyfriend.
Jonathan,
his whole drama thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
That just kind of also feels like, I don't know, they don't know what to do with that relationship.
Mm-hmm. It almost feels like a, not exactly though, like a Rory Amy thing, because I like Steve. I like him a lot. And I like Nancy too, but I don't think she's as good. I don't think she's good enough for him. There. That's what I said it. But But except in this situation, like he would be the Rory, and Amy would go F off with somebody else because screw Amy Pond. But I like Nancy.
It's so fascinating that he was like, whatever. Now I know we're tracking into things that we talked about just like an episode or two ago, but what a good turn with the character where he started as like the douchey, almost villain boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now he's like one of everybody's favorites, probably.
She does like where the story with Papa went. Oh, okay. Yeah. The 11 stuff.
I guess. I mean, she got to kill him again. Or she didn't, but
Right. We got to watch him die again. Why he does nothing but gaslight. Why does she ever?
Right.
She don't need him. And now Steve is the best single mom Hawkins has ever had.
Has ever had. Yeah. Well, what about what's his name? The cop guy.
Oh.
I can't remember his name. He was in Russia the whole time. Who cares?
And Paul Reiser. I don't mind Paul Reiser's character in this. They make him likable. I'm not a Paul Reiser fan. But I think it's not necessarily his fault. It's mostly like, I think, characters I associate him with.
Mm-hmm. He's always the sleazebag corporate guy that sells everybody out.
And even in that show, Mad About You, he felt... I didn't like him. He seemed weaselly in that show.
Well, I don't think show. I was going to say, you didn't like that show anyway. I don't think you like Helen Hunt either.
No, not really.
See? So, there you go. Savannah says, darn alien. It's true. It's true. It will forever taint my opinion of Paul Reiser.
Did you guys talk about how Paul Reiser is also in The Boys?
Oh,
is
no.
He?
He's the legend.
Your volume is very low suddenly. And I get... Oh, wait. Talk now.
Hello?
Oh. And I get a little bit of noise from you now. Weird.
Yeah, there's like a static.
Jiggle stuff. Jiggle everything.
There?
Whoa.
Yeah?
No.
Savannah... Sorry.
Go ahead.
Savannah says she hasn't watched The Boys yet. Someone on her account has, besides us. But that's too bad. You should watch it. It's good.
If you haven't watched The Boys yet, who else is on your account? Because somebody's always watched the new episodes before we got to it.
See, become our fans. We'll use your streaming services. So, should we hold off on The Boys? What else do we have to talk about?
Oh yeah, Savannah hasn't watched The Boys, but you know what? Shout out to Savannah. She's a cat dancer. She gets all the pizza, and cat pizza.
And that means that she supports us on Patreon. In the cat dancing tier, which means she gets to call the shots. She says, "Do it," and we'll probably will eventually. But you don't have to be on the cat dancing tier. You can be on the, what is it? It's all pizza.
It's all pizza. $1 a month.
It's all pizza. $1 a month, and you get access to tons of pre-shows and all kinds of stuff. And yes, Savannah has requested Ken Burns, and we'll get to it. But Ken Burns is a documentary series guy. And we need something more like an episode, not a series. And
in series, an episode is like an hour and a half anyway. We were looking at his newer one. And it's like, no, that's a mini series, and every episode is movie length. I'm not committing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to add a stipulation that, like, don't hire a metal band and be like, play country music. Because that's what Savannah's trying to do right now. Yeah, it's music, but the genre's a little wonky.
Well, I love documentaries, but yeah, we need something shorter, right? Mostly. We don't have the time to commit to that.
How about we compromise and we just watch an episode or two of How Did This Get, or what? No, the movies that made us, or something. The toys that made us. Those are not Ken Burns style. I kind of actually I hate that style of the show, but it's more Grawlixy. What do you have to say, Jesse?
I don't know.
Better.
Is my audio better?
Way better.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
What happened?
I just unplugged it and replugged it in.
Weird little short or something.
Maybe you got jiggled by a wiggle butt.
It probably was. Yeah. When I took him out, he. Yeah.
Yep. Don't animals make life fun?
They do.
So here's the thing. Melanie and I have seen Thor: Love and Thunder. We'll talk about that a little bit. That's it. I mean, there's other things we'll talk about.
My wife was in the land of Brandon Lapani, the technology geek, and so I was unable to because this is one of those things. Like there's some series where I can watch it without her, and that'd be fine. Not Thor. No, that would have been probably a no-no.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, have you been following general opinions of it at all?
It's weird. It's got, like, generally speaking, it sounds like most everybody I know that's actually seen it likes it. But I'm hearing that people don't, and then there's some flack for it being too funny, and I want to be like, did you watch Ragnarok? Like, that's one of my favorite parts of how it changed. So
that's a big part of what made it good. Plus, it's Taika Waititi. If like know what you're getting into, of course it's funny.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's going to deviate a little. It's not going to be like just like the comic. I mean, I assume it's not.
Okay. Sorry. Good night, Savannah. She has to work in the morning. Have a good night. I think that the problem with Thor is everybody is reviewing it like we do. They're like, I love it. Let me tell you all the things that are wrong with it. You know?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's fine.
Take it easy, Savannah. Jasper says this 4 fell flat, but I liked it. I mean,
exactly.
Here's the thing. Was it worse than Thor or Thor 2?
No,
it couldn't be. It couldn't be.
Was it as good as Ragnarok? No, not really, but it was still okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, without going into spoilers, yeah, that's my opinion of it. It's like, it's not as good as Ragnarok, but I still enjoyed it. It carried that tone that some people apparently were not, maybe thinks. I don't know if people not expecting it. It's like, it's a follow up to Ragnarok by the same director.
Did they see the trailers?
Yeah. But I mean, there is valid criticism to be had, and I'll just pretty much keep it to when I logged it on Letterboxd. Of course, I watched the movie and I logged it on Letterboxd. Then I kind of scroll through a couple reviews that pop up, and my favorite, and that I agree with, my favorite review is that it's a pretty good first draft. Be cool when the movie gets finished or whatever, or when the script gets finished, and that's a good like it doesn't feel as fleshed out as it should be. It feels like this. It's just flatter. The story is flatter. It doesn't feel, and the plot of Ragnarok wasn't the best movie plot of all time because it kind of like the big Marvel-y villains section felt kind of like totally separate from the main actual plot that we're following of Thor on this garbage planet and all this and Hulk and all that. But this movie's very, very plot driven, and it just feels, Taika Waititi's got a million things going on.
That's what I was gonna say. It feels like Taika Waititi maybe overextended himself a little bit.
and I think maybe he kind of rushed through. It's like, okay, here's the idea. It's done.
Either that, or there's way more interference from the studio than there was last time. One of the two.
But that said, I really enjoyed what's there, The humor was solid. Christian Bale, I really liked his performance. It was weird and kind of unexpected. Like, it starts off and you're like, okay, this feels like Christian Bale, but then at times he'd get real, not goofy, but like, I don't know, a little bit goofy. And it's like, I just did not expect it from Christian Bale. And it still kind of works. It makes this villain really weird and kind of hard to get like a grasp on, like, tonally, which could be a criticism, but for me it worked.
I've heard that Christian Bale's really good and that Natalie Portman was really good, which is interesting because I had very little that I liked about the Jane Foster character from the first movie and the second movie. Like, it was like, oh no, she's gone.
Right.
When Ragnarok happened. So,
I thought she was fine. She's kind of charming, I guess, but like, you know, whatever. She's fine.
Yeah, she's not my favorite part of it. I'll say that. And maybe it's they don't really have a good chemistry, I don't think. Her and Hemsworth. I don't know why, but in the other movies and in this one, the romance didn't seem very romantic or something. It was weird. That's probably one of my bigger criticisms of the movie too.
Right. I think Taika Waititi handles that stuff well though, because he'll do like kind of this framing device once in a while and I don't even know where it actually fits in, but like the way he handles like setting up the backstory of Thor and what was her name?
Jane?
Natalie Portman?
Jane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As like a tale that the rock guy is telling some kids or something, like, let me tell you a love story.
Oh my.
And so like you get this like kind of sequence that's narrated by Taika Waititi essentially. And so that's, you know, like he does little things like that I think make it work, and also maybe that's part of what adds to people who are like, oh, it's too funny. There's just nothing but jokes, but it's like that's what Taika Waititi does. Like,
well, I like that in the scope of like an Asgardian like myth kind of thing. Like that's the kind of stuff you'd see in an old Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Thor comic. So,
there's definitely elements that feel rushed, like the whole Jane plot. Although I don't know, unless you're really going to dive heavy into the drama, I'm not sure what else you do. But there's there's parts that are rushed, that feel like it could be fleshed out more. But I think, and I don't know, maybe I don't know what Taika Waititi was doing, or what his mindset was, but it feels like he was focusing on like pulling some interesting story elements from comics, and then focus on comedy and the occasional like crazy kind of set piece. Like, I don't think there's anything that quite matches the Hulk fighting a werewolf while there's a big battle on a rainbow bridge with fireworks shooting from a orgy ship, like spaceship, right? Like, I don't feel like there's anything that's quite that grandiose, but there's like this cool sequence with gods and Zeus is just Zeus's character. That's a slight spoilers, I guess. Zeus shows up. His character's weird, and like that whole scene I thought was pretty fun. So there's some cool action stuff like that. Like, I feel like he focuses on coming up with like outlandish situations that in of themselves, like when you describe them to someone, just are ridiculous. And that's kind of fun.
Well, did they? I don't know what they. I don't remember what they showed in the trailers, but they showed the mode of travel that they end up taking, because that's probably the big one, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch. I don't. There's a lot of Guns N' Roses. I'm not a fan of Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And let's see. Jasper said it felt like the plot episode to a series to set up the season and not a full feature-length film. It doesn't necessarily feel like something that sets something else up to me, but I will agree in that whereas Ragnarok, even though like arguably is more kind of serial in that it pulls from characters and plot lines that like aren't from that movie, and this movie does that a little bit but less so. Ragnarok still felt more, it comes to my whole like fully fleshed out thing, whereas this does feel more like it's just kind of more the same, just a little thinner. It's like a a bonus episode or something like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely it doesn't feel like the fourth Thor movie, but it does feel like the second Ragnarok movie. It does feel like a kind of a sequel that's like, okay,
Yeah.
more of the same, but not as good. That's fine.
And is MCU winding down, do you think?
Not if there's money to be made. The mouse won't let
I mean,
me.
I think they're winding down anything that's like kind of legacy MCU. Like,
Right.
I
Okay,
think they are
okay.
winding down the Chris Hemsworth Thor. I think they are winding down the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, really anything that we're used to is kind of slowly being literally phased out.
Yeah.
And then new movies will happen. Who knows what what we'll get in terms of like a Avengers movie. It really seems like everything is being pushed towards this Secret Wars, and not the original Secret Wars, but the one from like 2015, where it's going to be just all multiversal nonsense craziness. Like the fact that we're seeing multiple Thors in this movie lends itself, and I don't know anything about the movie, so I could be talking complete nonsense right now, but it lends itself to a Secret Wars battle world where the Thors are literally like the police force. Like there's
Okay.
so many Thors that they're just the cops. You got a problem on Battle World, you call in the Thors.
Okay. Okay.
I think it'd be better to have the Hulk, because then, he could go in and like reason with them, and then if they didn't listen, then he could Hulk up and take them out,
Right. He's a one-man SWAT team.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I think it's I still gave it 4. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like it's probably high for some people, but
Better than the last Doctor Strange. Like where we fall on the current phase of movies. We got was it No Way Home, our Spider-Man,
right.
and then we've got our Doctor Strange, and then we've got Thor. Where's it feel?
I personally would put it at the same level, if I can, with Doctor Strange.
So like Spider-Man is here, and then Doctor
Wait.
Strange and Thor are here
Yeah.
Your video froze for me. Where's Spider-Man?
at the top.
Okay. I mean, I think this has the best humor, but I like YTD's sense of humor. But yeah, it's about on par with Doctor Strange, which is crazy to say for me, because the first Doctor Strange was kind of bland, but then again, the first 2 Thor movies were very bland. But yeah, you got Sam Raimi, Doctor Strange, doing it Sam Raimi style, and not as good as Ragnarok, but you still got Taika Waititi, Love and Thunder. So I'd say they're about on par. Very entertaining, and definitely a couple of my favorite of the MCU movies. I don't know that they're necessarily the best in terms of, I don't know, quality, but whatever.
Well,
they're the most entertaining to me, but they're the most also like randy of the movies,
I would say besides what's it called? Iron Man. Besides Iron Man, it's better than the beginning round of all the other movies. But Iron Man was pretty darn good. And they're lucky it was, because otherwise I don't think we would have made it this far.
Yeah,
Man, Spider-Man was great.
it was great.
I can't believe how much. I still am surprised by how much I like the newer Spider-Man trilogy. I don't know why. Man, they're so good.
Because the first 2 don't even. I mean, like they slowly start to feel more Spider-Man-y, and yet, like they're so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not the same at all, but I heard, and I don't know if this is true, that they're still going to have Ezra Miller in the new movie
Flash?
that they're coming out with, because there's too much of him in it, and they don't want to spend the money to reshoot. So,
Wow, it comes down to money for these people. That's weird.
yeah.
That's got to be, man.
And he's got like arguably one of the worst scandals
Oh yeah.
in a while, you know?
Oh,
like
yeah, he's crazy stuff.
dang near Harvey, I mean like not Harvey Weinstein, but like bad, real bad.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
bad, real weird.
Like, oh yeah, wow.
I
So
mean,
I'm surprised, really, that they're even gonna go ahead with it. You
Like-
know.
That can't end well, right?
no. You know what though? They're just like, whatever. Let's just do this one. The multiverse, nothing matters. The continuity doesn't matter.
They're like,
we're not.
Sony released a Jared Leto Morbius movie. What do we have to lose?
Right.
Poor Jared Leto. I feel bad for him.
I don't.
Me either.
The only time I ever felt kind of bad for him was when Ed Norton was just beating the crud out of him in Fight Club. And even then
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, hit him.
Yeah, I didn't know him well enough yet.
I always confuse him for those twins that were popular at the same time, that were like the main character-ish sort of in Dazed and Confused. You know what I mean? I can't remember. Jeremy London maybe is one of them. It's Jeremy and
Oh,
Jason London. That's what it
okay.
is.
The
Yeah.
only twins that came to my brain were like one of them played Bobby, the Iceman in the X-Men movies. And then he's got a twin.
Oh, he's got a twin?
Yeah.
You know, who popped in my mind was Armie Hammer, but he's not a twin. He played twins in, in a David Fincher movie.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
also
they're-
had some weird controversy over the years, too.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever actually been in the same movie together. I just know that they are twins and they both act. But it's one of those two, is because I don't know who it is. I would always, or I guess both of them, I would always confuse them and Jared Leto, flip them around in my head, you know, kind of like what's his name, Ethan Hawke, and the guy who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi. I used to get them confused all the time.
Right, right. It's interesting. They're not the same, but I totally understand why. Like, I could see
They've
it.
got like a vibe. They've got like
Yeah.
a look almost. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, we didn't jade like. That was the one thing about talking about a movie you haven't seen yet, Jesse. Is I don't want to jade your opinion, but I'm fairly confident you'll probably have a similar opinion.
It's definitely worth watching, I'd say, though.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, everybody I've heard, like, they're not, like, I don't know, there's people giving it glowing reviews, but, like, everybody that I know that knows comics has had kind of a mixed review of it, but generally positive.
I will say, I mean, there is a moment, like, not to sound like a D-bag, but, like, not, I wouldn't call it, like, a female empowerment moment, because that kind of, like, feels like it degrades the purpose of female empowerment moments. But there is, like, a little speech type thing, or a brief thing, where it's like, okay, I get what you're saying, but we don't ever have a, I get it moment. And that was the main thing. I was like, just don't go full on comics to where you include just a cringy, like, I get it.
The
You're a woman. I understand.
Titania moment.
Yeah.
From the actual comic.
Nothing like that. I thought it was handled fairly well. Although people probably disagree with that. I don't know.
I'm trying to remember in the comics what ended the Jane Foster Thor's run, if it was gore or if it was like something on that level. Like gore is like practically prophesied, right, to bring about the ruin of like he's basically supposed to bring Ragnarok in a sense. But like Asgard is already fallen in this. Like it's just a place on Earth. Ooh,
Right.
baby, you know what it's worth. Asgard is a place on Earth.
Yeah.
I think maybe if anybody were to, I mean, the Jane thing, maybe a criticism would be it's kind of not sidelined, but like, I'm a little surprised they didn't get more focus. I mean, she's there. She's a main character of the movie, so she's there for most of the movie. But yeah, that whole plot line. Although I guess, I mean, unless you're going to dedicate a movie to that plot line, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, that's again to what you were saying earlier. It not being as flushed out as it could be.
Right.
Yeah.
Melanie had a comment while we were watching it in the theater, and towards the beginning, and it's apt, and I feel like especially one of the beginning sequences, but it kind of maintains the feel a little bit throughout. But she's like, "This is like an '80s cartoon." It is like there's this ridiculous sequence towards the beginning that it feels like a live action version of an '80s cartoon. It has the look.
Mm-hmm.
It's more over the top than '80s cartoons.
Like a Super Friends / Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends style.
More of like a more bombastic He-Man or something.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a
G.I.
80s,
Joe or Transformers.
like an '80s action fantasy cartoon.
Yeah.
Jasper agrees. But
You love it.
I kind of wish there was more of it. I kind of. We don't need to go back to Earth. Just do what you're doing here. Give me more cosmic Thor. That's what I want. And I guess that's kind of maybe a disappointment in this. I want more cosmic Thor. All right. Okay. Anyway, enough of that.
Yep.
It's a good movie.
What's next?
Go watch it.
Huh?
If anything,
I
maybe
will, and then I'm going to disagree with everything you guys said.
Maybe we knocked the bar too low. So like that's the goal.
No,
Jesse,
Mike.
it's terrible.
Man,
you should go watch
these
it.
guys hated this movie, even though that's not what they said at all. I love it.
Yep. I want to mention because we're Melanie and I we were on a Helmsworth. Is it Helmsworth? Helmsworth kick.
Mm-hmm.
Because the night before we went and seen Thor: Love and Thunder, we watched a Netflix movie called Spiderhead.
Mm-hmm.
And tonally, that's a messed up movie. It's weird.
Yeah.
It has, I don't know, him. He's kind of the. I don't know that it's spoilers. I feel like you can see it coming. He's kind of the villain, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Miles Teller, who everybody knows from that drummer movie. I don't know what it's called. I've never watched it. It was a big critically acclaimed movie where he plays like this drummer student. Is talented and
Drumline?
No, and
It's the only drum movie I can think of.
Oh, and his teacher. I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, he's a drummer.
Jameson's like, I need pictures of Spider-Man, and you better drum better, or else.
Yeah, he was like mentally abused or something by his teacher.
Whiplash. You don't know that movie?
I don't know that one.
Everyone knows.
Only Whiplash I know is from that terrible Iron Man 2 movie.
Well, apparently this. Oh, what am I thinking? This guy, he's fantastic. He's Mr. Fantastic. He was the whatever
John
guy.
Krasinski?
No. In the Fan 4-Stick movie that came out a few years ago.
Oh.
Fan 4-Stick. What?
The reboot or the right was it? It wasn't right. Who was it? They're calling for them to release the whatever cut.
Right.
Oh.
Not right. Wrong.
No, it was directed by. Well, it was directed by Josh Trank.
Oh.
And it got more controversy than some other movies. At the same time this is around Suicide Squad time, and so there was the comparison of both these movies got massive reshoots and re-edits and kind of taken away from the director, and whereas the Suicide Squad director was just like, it's fine, and has a career, this guy did not zip his lips, and I don't think it was probably a good decision for him to be so outspoken about it.
It may have tranked his whole career.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Spiderhead has Mr. Fan 4-Stick in it. He's kind of the main character. Here, a prisoner in a state-of-art penitentiary begins to question the purpose of the emotion-controlling drugs he's testing for a pharmaceutical genius. It's basically it's based on a short story. It's kind of a sci-fi thing where the prisoners, and it's like this super lax prison. If you don't know that going into it, it'd be maybe 20 minutes before you're like, oh, this is a prison? But they have this this thing where they have like this pack installed in their spines, and they're testing different chemicals that like manipulate people's emotions. And I thought it was a decent movie. At,
2.5 stars?
By 2.5 stars. But tonally, it was real weird. It was a mess. And I think it's because they tried to make it like a fun, hip, almost comedy, except the story is not that. The story is potentially super dark. And like just the premise, and when they like once you get into like what's going on, you're like, oh, this is awful. But the movie never like the tone never reflects really the extent of that. Like it's like, oh, but Chris Hemsworth's charming. It's like, yeah, but this is awful.
But I think, I mean, I don't know, but I kind of feel like it was maybe intentionally that way. Right. Because, like, for example, there's a line in the movie, which is probably one of the better lines in the movie, where the one guy is, like, complaining about whatever his life, and the other guy's like, oh, can I get you something for that? Like, for his emotions, you know? And I kind of feel like they were trying to do something like that with it, where they were like, make it feel wrong, because that's what this whole thing is about, is making them feel things that they aren't meant to be feeling at that time. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting way to kind of look into it, to where it's like, yeah, because that's a big part of the tests, is they'll like jack them up with this chemical that makes them aroused or makes them laugh or whatever, and then present them with like situations where it's like they shouldn't be feeling that, to see if that's how effective the chemical is. So maybe that's the movie. It's like, we're going to present this as like, you know, I mean, maybe that's the satirical attempt in it, is like, we're going to present this as like, it's got like, the beginning credits has like pink, almost handwritten or crayon drawn looking font with like, and it's got a lot of like 70s, unexpected 70s music and some 80s, like, she blinded me with science, like stuff like that. And it's like, that's the tone of the film itself, while it's presenting this stuff where it's like, here, we're going to jack you up with drugs that makes you have sex with this person you don't want to have sex with. And it's like, oh, okay.
Did not get that vibe from like the photo that you put on the screen earlier, where it's just like the two of them in a really awkward like 80s style photo shoot, where it's like superimposed.
Right.
Yeah.
It's real strange.
It is.
Looks like average reviews are between 2 to 3 stars. And that seems right. Like, it's not bad, but it's just like...
It's not bad. I think if there was a little more story, it'd be better. I less of the flashbacks and more of... Because everybody there is there for... It's a prison, so they did some messed up stuff. So we get some flashbacks of that. If they would have done less of that and more of, like... the one guy's motivation, I mean, I guess he's in a prison, so maybe that's his motivation. But, you know, for, first of all, getting all up into the other guy's stuff. And then the doctor guy, Hemsworth or whatever, I guess he's just greedy. I don't understand his whole thing either, really. Or the bingo thing, that's really weird. I don't get that.
Right. It's fine. It's a fine movie. It's weird. This is one of the random movies, and I think I decided to watch it because, man, Netflix has been like kind of pushing this one hard. Like, I've seen trailer clips and whatever else, and I was like, well, Chris Hemsworth being charming or whatever, that's fine, but I don't know. The look of it didn't appeal to me. Then I read the like synopsis, and I was like, okay, I'm down for some like. The thing I read, it said something about it was like a dystopian whatever. So yeah, we watched it. This is one of those like, because I feel like Netflix put a ton of money into getting like big A-list actors in like a slew of movies for Netflix, right? I mean, outside of their like occasional like the Scorsese movie they did a while back with Pesci and whatever, that feels like a big prestige movie they invested a bunch of money in. But this feels like, you know, he's in a couple of Netflix movies. There usually is an army guy or something. Or it feels like Chris Pratt showing up in a bunch of Amazon movies where they're just like, we're gonna throw a bunch of money and just kind of churn out some movies. And this is what like the first one of those that I watched, and it was okay.
Yeah, it hit real hard on the consent thing too, and
Right.
that wasn't a big. I don't know. They didn't have to go so hard on that, and they could have spent some time on some other stuff. I thought.
Right.
Yeah, but that was a big. Yeah, consent played a big part of the whole thing too.
Right. Netflix, like, it's kind of a common thing. People kind of dog on Netflix original stuff now. And I've never really necessarily felt like, I don't feel like generally Netflix movies and stuff aren't, I never really felt like they were turning out crap. And not that this is either, but it is
They're like
interesting.
a different tier of movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Not
this,
quite made direct for TV kind of thing, but like, or direct to video, but kind of like that.
and that's surprising because some of their series, not all of them, like Umbrella Academy looks nice, but like it's not necessarily always blockbuster tier, and some of their other series are definitely not blockbuster tier. But like this and that Ryan Reynolds movie we watched not long ago. I guess this wasn't the first of those Netflix movies. Looks really nice. Entire movie is in like one or two settings, so I'm like, oh, okay, that's where they're cut. Like and that's part of it. Like that's where they're cutting costs. And like this looked nice, but there wasn't a lot of like super dynamic filmmaking to it. It's weird when then I'll watch something like The Pentaveret, which is a ridiculous Mike Myers thing, and be like, wow, the budget for this thing. Like there's really weird, dynamic filmmaking occasionally, crazy effects, like strange setting. Like, why am I watching a Mike Myers series and being like kind of blown away by the production of it, and then watching like a movie where they've got big names like Hemsworth and Miles Teller is, I guess, a big name people know.
Because they spent all their cast money on one guy.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Maybe it's cheaper in Canada.
That too.
That's true. Well, you've seen the video quality in Pentaveret when they're in Canada. It's like old VHS practically. It's a visual gag they do. It's okay. This is the second episode in a row that the Pentaveret's come up. It wasn't that great of a show.
I think they should maybe focus on their foreign series because those are usually a freaking amazing. But
and
that's because they're already done.
Yeah,
Somebody
exactly.
else has already spent all the money on it.
Exactly. Like they'll brand those as originals, but like a lot of those, at least the ones when it seemed like there was a big explosion of amazing foreign series on there, that was them buying up series that were already produced or produced by other people. That wasn't them producing it themselves.
Oh, so like the Black Spot was not them?
Yeah, I don't think it was.
The Crown is probably produced by somebody.
The Crown, I don't know. The Crown, I think, is an exception. I feel like that was, I don't know if it still is, but that was definitely a Netflix production because it was the biggest, most expensive Netflix not only Netflix production, but at least, I don't know if it's still the case, the most expensive television show production ever.
Wow.
Because of setting and outfits and like they just went all out apparently. I don't know if they can afford
Yeah,
now.
I would imagine recreating like the life of royalty would be kind of expensive.
Right. And it looks, it looks legit when you watch the show. It's That's the thing. Like you watch something like The Crown, and I know they spent a ton of money on it, but it's a series. Looks great. Looks great. And then you watch some of their kind of newer movies, and they're like, it doesn't look bad, but
Well, it doesn't feel clunky like some of these movies do. Like even those two Ryan Reynolds movies, the one with The Rock and Gal Gadot, and and Ryan Reynolds, that whole like counter spy thing, like it was compelling. It was a good popcorn movie, but it felt clunky compared to other movies that, like, if you were to try to do a James Bond movie in that style, the Bond people would just flip because they're used to a certain level of quality.
right. Okay, so yeah, you watched that one. Yeah, that I kind of group in. Maybe it's just like a certain time period of movies that when they're producing them. There's
Well, and
Go ahead.
sorry, but the Crown is based on life, you know. So I mean, I'm sure they take some liberties with it, but they have like a template they have to go by. So if it's seems more real and interesting, that's because it's actual life and not some crap they made up.
I mean, I think though there's also writer quality, like different quality of writers on different
Right,
things.
of course.
Because some shows like The Crown, they'll have like, I don't know, the structure of the season's compelling, or they'll have the occasional. I mentioned before that I watched Barry, all of Barry, on HBO Max, and it's great. But I think part of why I enjoyed it so much is a combination of like quality of writing and production. Now, production, like it looks nice. It's an HBO series, but it's not like, necessarily super stylistic all the time or anything. But there is like, I don't know, there's a talent behind the filmmaking and the writing that kind of works together.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe on some of these movies, they're just like, whatever, here, okay, this is good, just throw a bunch of extra money, get somebody super famous. It'll balance out.
So it's like the difference between, because like this will tie into what I watched. It's like the difference between The Expendables, which is like schlocky, over the top. Let's throw the money at all the biggest names, regardless of how good their acting chops were actually in the 80s. But like, them for their action movies. Let's just make a movie around that, right? And then you got John Wick, which I was like, all I knew about John Wick is that Keanu Reeves kills some people and that like his dog dies and that's part, like, that ties into it. That's all I knew. And then I start watching this movie and it was like, holy cow, this has got an incredible cast. Like, they buried the lead on that as far as I'm concerned, because like Willem Dafoe is in it. Willem Dafoe is in it. No, like John Leguizamo is in it. There's like notable actors, like maybe not like top tier, like not like Sly Stallone level household name kind of actors, but like these are actors that you always see play convincing characters in these kinds of movies. And it felt like, what if The Expendables was done with better writing?
And
Right.
John Wick is such an interesting example because the story is, the basic plot is so cookie cutter and like
It's very one note
and basic, but they know it, they embrace it, and that's almost the point. They're like, that's
Right.
the point. They kill his dog, and that's what makes him finally snap and kind of come out of a hitman retirement.
Right.
Is the most it's like the cheesiest, most cliche, like loose. I think like some of the worst Dirty Harry movies use that exact thing, but they know it, they embraced it, and then they crafted this weird and not remotely realistic, but this interesting world of assassins around it. And then the filmmaking's on point. It just all comes together and works.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
And listen, they played to Keanu's strengths. He's like, how do you want me to play this? Just shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth and look sad.
Just kill people all the
Just
time.
kill people all the time. You don't need to talk much. It's fine.
People keep asking me if I'm back.
So
Yeah,
you watch
I'm thinking I'm back.
That's such a good and perfectly Keanu line.
Right. Like only he could deliver it that way too, Well,
So you watched had you seen the first John Wick before?
I had not seen it. No, like
You've never seen it, really?
because I knew like the dog dies and it has to be poignant. It's got to be convincing enough that you want to see him kill everyone.
It's pretty tasteful, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, like
Especially
it's not like
it's a puppy.
dwell on it or anything. It happens quick and as painless as something like that's going to be. But like, man, yeah, you just hate And then it's that guy. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. It's like it's that guy, Meek or whatever his name was in the Game of Thrones, and you're like, man, I hate this guy already.
Yeah. Reek. That was
Reek. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the third John Wick yet, I know it's been out for years at this point.
Right. I just started the second one, and I was like, I am not going to binge all 3 John Wick movies in one night. I'm not going to do that. So I stopped myself.
You got to make them last. I enjoyed the second one too.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed the second one too.
The premise seems interesting, but it seems a little more dialed up. It was like, wait a minute, I was out again, but you're pulling me back in because you've got my thumbprint on a locket?
Is that what it was? I don't
know. It's some kind of like, he throws this disc down and he's got his blood thumbprint in it. And he's like, you know what this means? He's like, get somebody else.
The second one, from what I remember this not really digging the plot as much, or like, God, the plot in those are so loose. But yeah, not really digging the like whole thing as much. But the second one works in that like they're just gonna take the tone of the first one and then turn everything up to 11 to where you're like, this is ridiculous, and that's why I like it.
Yeah.
It gets stupid, but it
starts stupid. Like he busts in to get his car. I'm like, oh God, this is off. We're starting here, huh? You know, and he's like, he just destroys the car. You think just because he wants the car back. And then he gets home and he's like, oh, there was this photo and this card in the glove compartment, and that's why I needed the car.
Right. Mm-hmm. Some of the car stunts in that are pretty incredible. There's some pretty cool stuff.
I think that's the thing with all of I haven't seen the third one, but all of the John Wick movies is that the fighting is supposed to be very, very well choreographed and executed. So
and it's kind of fresh. Like, it's a different take, you know, like when the Matrix come out and they had like the martial arts gunplay stuff, and then a bunch of stuff like copied that. And you know,
and John Woo with his like weird, like, I'm gonna make gunfights look like swordplay.
Right. Mm-hmm. And this was like making gunfights look like martial arts, like fist, like up close fist, like the whole like be right here, bah, 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 and the way he holds it every time, like that makes it feel kind of fresh. And they have, I mean, I think at least the first one for sure was directed by a stunt guy, which can go. It's like when stunt guys or like special effects, like visual effects guys or makeup effects guys direct a movie. More often than not, it's like they'll have amazing whatever thing they're good at, but then the movie will be kind of like, I mean, they're clearly not a super skilled director. But I don't feel like that's the case with John Wick. I feel like that all worked.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you're focusing on the thing that you're good at, it's going to be a little bit easier than, you know, maybe the story isn't the best, but the action's amazing. And if you're an action guy, a stunt guy, that makes sense.
And like we were saying, John Wick leans into that. It's like it knows that's I think more, if anything, what it is. It knows what it is. It's not trying to do anything else but be exactly what it is.
And it's like subversively campy. It's not campy like in the way that the Expendables is campy. Like,
right.
The Expendables is campy in the way that it's like, you couldn't put that much C4 on any building. You blow up half the state with that much C4. This is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and I'm sure when whoever's writing or making Expendables, they're like having fun with it.
Right.
But that kind of campy feels like, it feels disingenuous, I guess, in a way. It feels like it comes from like, it's more of like coming from a mocking point of view, right?
Almost like, y'all loved this and it was stupid. Here's some stupid fun.
And John Wick feels like it's from a loving point of view. Like even when it gets stupid, it's like, yeah, but it's pretty cool, right? And they're into it. No matter how stupid it gets.
Yeah.
So, we should watch the third one sometime. I need to.
They're all on Peacock. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have. Happened to have Peacock, so I'm like, all right, fire it up. Oh, speaking of fire it up, that guy's in there too.
Is he?
Yeah, he's the cleaner. He's the guy that they call in to clean things up.
Awesome.
I was just like, man, this is just a who's who. But like, you have to really pay attention and be like, oh, that guy is that guy. That what? But it's not like, it's not like you're gonna have Bruce Willis just wander in. But you have T-Bird.
T-Bird, yes.
The Warriors come out and play. Yay.
Yeah, man. That's
Wow.
I'm surprised.
And they had like the main bad guy, that Vigo or Victor or Vigo, is like a Vigo. I don't know. He's the Russian guy. He was like the big bad in one of the Mission Impossible movies. So it's like they're pulling people that are good for these, for these roles.
It's kind of like what Rob Zombie will do with pulling character actors from old like grindhouse horror movies, or Quentin Tarantino pulling character actors from just grindhouse movies in general.
Yeah.
It's like that, except they're action guys, so they're pulling action character actors from action movies. Yeah, those movies also have can't think of his name, but he plays Swearingen in Deadwood, and that guy's just great.
Oh, yeah.
I wish he was in more stuff because he's fantastic.
I like him also. You know what they need though? I think they need more movies about cleaners, because I think that's such an interesting aspect of that whole, the thing. And I think I've only seen like one or two movies about it, and it's very good material if anybody actually took the time to do something good with it. The best one I've ever seen. Oh, so go ahead.
Was it Keitel in Pulp Fiction? Was he a cleaner?
Yeah.
He just comes in and drinks coffee and tells them how to do it.
Yeah.
And he's treated like a bad A.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I'm sure you have to be a very calm and fast thinking person to do that kind of a job. Yeah.
What did we watch not long ago that it felt like they were trying to do a John Wick weird world of assassins? Maybe Gunpowder Milkshake, but it just didn't really work that well. I thought there was something else too.
Yeah, probably, but I do not know. Maybe it was Pig, the like Fight Club in the basement.
It was Pig. It was Pig.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because Pig is like the John Wick of like, instead of Hitman, it's the culinary world or upscale fine dining.
Oh man.
Where there's fight
That movie
clubs.
is so bizarre.
Restaurant workers.
So bizarre.
Why does that movie even work?
I don't know. Why did I like talking about it? I kind of want to watch it again. Like,
Oh no!
it's so bizarre. This weird world building they made.
Oh yeah, it really is. Oh,
Maybe
speaking
that's.
of-
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say maybe it's real and we just don't know about it.
That's right.
That's why it worked. Yeah. This is a pill. It's like it's the Crown theory, right? Like that's real life. So that's why it's compelling.
Yep. That reminds me, we're gonna have to pick another Nicolas Cage movie and stuff here before long.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to release that last episode of GCU here before long. I've been so busy, especially the last couple of weeks. I mean, my mom always like, I'm so busy. But especially the last couple of weeks, I've kind of been so busy with video edits and stuff like that, audio edits, and also music. Like, I'm trying to get that album together before the end of the month. So, like, Grawlix has been getting neglected a little more than the usual level of neglect, just because, like, I'm legitimately busy. The other times I say I'm busy, I'm maybe not as busy. Who knows?
You're such a neglectful parent.
I know. Well, God, isn't this kid out of the house yet? It should be able to take care of itself. I'll just show up, do my parenting stuff, and then it can just go out into the world and live.
Not this kid. This kid's living in the basement.
Yes.
He's not really picking up after itself. Not really paying any rent.
Yeah.
What? Grawlix, when are you going to get to that episode 100? God, get off my case, Dad.
Were you ever a kid? You just don't understand.
GCU sitting over in the corner. You're not my real dad.
Right.
You shut up and go Batman.
Yep. Oh. It's great.
I think our show should just be us like personifying the show itself in various ways.
We're just traumatizing the show.
Yeah.
We're just like, yeah.
I think that could be a
No,
fresh
go
take.
go fend for yourself, Grawlix podcast.
Go fend for yourself.
There's food in the fridge. Figure it out.
What? I showed up. Isn't that good enough? I throw you money every month.
Right.
You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
Here's your allowance.
Yeah.
That's
So-
for like podcast.
You're lucky you didn't have your grandpa.
In your grandpa's day, podcast.
Your grandpa would have handled this way different. I always thought that was a weird flex. We're like, well, in my house, your grandpa. We're like, really turning them against grandpa now?
Right. Right.
Yep. So, it's my turn.
Maybe it is. If it is, I'd be amazed.
Oh, good. So you should be amazed because
Oh, okay.
researchers in Germany have demonstrated quantum entanglement at 33 kilometers or 20.5 miles apart in two
Yeah.
sets of atoms, which is a new record. And I mean, theoretically, they should be able to do it at any distance, but in baby steps. So they took two pairs of atoms and entangled them on a side, and then they sent them 20.5 miles, one of each, 20.5 miles into a fiber optic cable, and then entangled those so you had two pairs that were entangled with each other. But they did it mostly to prove that we could use the existing infrastructure to do quantum computing. So, yeah.
So when you say, okay, and for the layman who doesn't know the name, no, when you say they entangled them, so essentially you've got two atoms that are still like in a way connected 25
they are.
miles apart.
Yes, 20.5 miles apart.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
20.5 miles apart.
Right, but really it's kind of half that, but not really. But they entangled two pairs and then entangled, so they had two of them and two of them. Now it's four of them, but they entangled them in the middle of the fiber optic cable. So yes. So yes.
Which okay. So
Which?
What having them entangled
Yes.
and separate. What can they do with that?
Well,
if you affect one, the other becomes affected as well?
exactly. So anything you do to one, you will do to all of them. So if I put some information in one that makes it spin one way, the other three are also going to spin that way, however far apart they are. And being able to entangle things in the fiber optic cable means that if I had, wanted to send an email to four people, that atom could entangle with four others, and they could instantly all, in separate areas, all get the same information at the exact same time.
So basically, once you it's like it's like, I don't know, weird wireless, because you'd entangle them. Once you send those atoms out to those people, when you change the atom, it doesn't have to send that new information. It just changes because they're
because they're
sync.
entangled. Yes. So everything you did to the one, the others would instantly know, regardless of distance. There wouldn't be no weight in the information exchange. It's
right. It's not actually sending anything other than however quantum
And
entanglement
you wouldn't even
works.
necessarily need an internet connection for that then, would you?
Right.
No. Well, I mean, no, you wouldn't.
beyond sending it out initially.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, if they could, I don't know exactly how it works, but by that logic, they could make devices. You sell devices that are linked, and you go anywhere with it and it's always going to be like you'll have a connection to it without any like existing service, like no cell towers, no connection, no Wi-Fi,
No
right?
Bluetooth.
Right.
No. Weird.
Yeah, it would take a lot to. It would take a lot to get that many devices and things done up like that. But yeah, they were even talking about they might be able to use quantum entanglement to make teleportation, which I think is freaking fascinating. But
Well, I was thinking prosthetics.
Yeah.
Like if there's a way to quantum entangle, then just like the thought of moving the fingers would make it happen.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if you want to do that though, because in our bodies it's not automatic. It has a delay, so it might screw up our like person, because we live like, what is it, 13 seconds or something really in the past, because it takes that long for our brain to smooth everything out. So you might end up like misfiring at things if it doesn't have that delay that your brain needs to. I don't know though. I'm not a actual doctor or scientist, so who knows?
Quantum entanglement is pretty interesting until you start talking about teleportation, and then
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
like, nope, it's teleportation is murder. I'll be
Yeah,
in the future.
Man.
I'll be in that side.
I
Teleportation
never-
is murder.
I never thought of it that way. Like I never thought of teleportation as what it actually is until I read Michael Crichton's timeline, and they explained teleportation and time travel basically in that way. And it was like, but then is that even really them anymore?
No.
What?
right.
It's not. It's a copy. It's a copy.
It's just like super fast cloning is all it is.
Yeah, but there's that whole what is you, because your body is a completely different body, every atom in it, every like 5 to 10 years. Your brain structures don't say this. Everything about you changes. So what makes you?
But it's so gradual. It's the whole like boat, slowly fixing a boat. Or you could blow up a boat and buy a new one. Is that the same boat? It's not the same boat.
It's not the same boat.
There's a difference there. Invincible had that bit with did they do this in the show yet? With Robot? Did Robot change bodies?
No, I don't think so.
Never mind. Nothing happens.
I mean, I know that part. but-
Okay, well, Invincible had the bit where he changed bodies, but he didn't really change bodies. He copied his brain or whatever to a new one, and then had kind of like this
Right.
sad
Oh,
emotional
but-
moment
Yeah.
where he's like, okay, but I'm not really you. Like, you're gonna die, and it's like, that's fine. I'll live on through you, type thing. But they totally like addressed that whole thing, which is my deal with cloning. It's like, that's not a you that popped. Wolverine knows. Ask him.
Right.
You teleport. You got to drown the original. Apparently, like that's what the heck.
Well, this supposedly actually would get around that. I don't really understand how. It's a Schrodinger cat thing, where they're like,
Now
well,
we're
you'll
killing
hop
cats.
it's like you have 4 boxes, and you're dead in 3 of them and alive in 1 of them, and we can use math to figure out which one you're alive in, and then that's the box we open, and that's how the teleportation will work. And it's you. It's actually you. And I'm like, how? I don't understand it,
that's
but
crap.
this is...
So you
That's
killed
what
me
they're
3
saying.
times.
I was just gonna say,
three copies of
sounds
me.
like that's actually worse than the
Yeah.
sci-fi that I've read.
That's worse to 1-to-1. That's only 1 murder. 4-to-1. That's 3 murders.
Oh, come on. It's less than the Prestige,
Yeah, but yeah, that was still 1-to-1. He just did it a lot.
That's true.
He was dumb. He could have had an army of him making money doing tricks,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
doing
kidding.
magic
Yeah.
tricks.
Yeah. And all those hats. Why waste all those hats? Those were perfectly fine hats,
Right.
What an amazing business model. God.
Right?
Tesla in that movie should have become a hat baron.
He should have.
No production cost whatsoever. Like material cost is 0.
Well, but that was the problem with Tesla. He just didn't have a mind for business.
You're right.
Yep.
The world would have been different if he'd have just like embraced capitalism a little more.
It would have been a real hat trick.
That's right. Somebody would have invested it in. Maybe we'd have quantum crap already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe he actually would have figured out free electricity. I don't know. Maybe not the way he was going about it, but yeah.
Oh, he would have, and we still wouldn't have it, though.
Right.
No, that's true. What an up note, huh?
Yeah, we went from being amazed to just like, Nietzsche was right.
That's kind of... I hate having that attitude, but Melanie has Are You Amazed stories all the time. And she'll tell me about this thing she's excited about, this amazing technology, whatever, and cure cancer, and do this and that, and whatever these other things. A battery that never dies. I'm like, that's cool. We'll never get that.
Yeah.
They either won't let us have it, or it'll be too expensive. Like, it will be way beyond our class, our means, when they decide.
Or it will be so far beyond, like, the problem it was supposed to solve that it will be, like, a moot point.
Right. It'll be... It's like vape, and of course people fight against that. I'm not going to even get into that. But, like, the guy that... Vaping was invented, like, 50 plus years ago, and none of the guy had a trademark or whatever, and none of the companies like, no, wouldn't invest in it, whatever, couldn't get it off the ground until his trademark or whatever expired, and then that's when... And of course, it wasn't the big tobacco companies, but that's when other people
and
were
all
like...
those bans started happening, like... States just started banning smoking, and there's like, oh, but this isn't smoking, my friend.
Yeah.
So this technology can be useful now because it'll make us money.
Mm-hmm. It's similar to the electric car too, because they had an electric car a long time ago, but nobody would work on it until Tesla, I guess.
Until it's kind of too late, really.
Right. Yeah, really, yeah.
They're like, fine, whatever. We don't care that much anymore. Maybe we should invest in... They've known about global warming since at least the 70s. Right. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
The oil companies know. So that's what we're talking about.
I still think we should all start driving bikes that have little, like, shells on them so that we can stay out of the elements, but get some exercise right around.
It's cold. I don't want to ride a bike of any kind on ice.
You can put a little heater in there. What if it has snow tires or something?
I guess if everyone else is on a bike, the highway wouldn't be so scary. Otherwise, you're asking for trouble.
The only thing, I mean, you'd have to go a little slower, so you'd need to take more time. But I don't think that's a bad thing. And that's it.
Smaller.
What?
The world will get smaller again. If everybody went to bikes, that's the only way you can get around.
Well, first of all, it wouldn't get smaller because we still have other means of travel. But also, that's not a bad thing either because we should do more things and buy more things and use more things locally. And that's better for the environment also.
So in the future, it's like, I either have to bike 10 miles to the grocery store or murder myself to teleport over there. How lazy am I feeling today?
Yeah. Man, I just can't even get out of bed to murder myself to get a snack.
Yep. Now I feel like the show started.
Yeah. Right. And all of this was predicted by Garfield. This is not Nietzsche. This is Garfieldism.
Yep. Okay, well I think that's the show.
That's the show.
Jesse, you got anything exciting coming up you want to mention?
Yeah, for all of our people who are listening right now, I've got a comic book show on Saturday. We're doing a in-store. We're calling it a mini con because there's got to be a couple of different tables of stuff you can see at Rainbow Comics, Cards and Collectibles in Lincoln, Nebraska. We'll be there from like 10 to 2, I believe, and so it'll be me and Axton, assuming everybody's healthy, because everybody that never got COVID is suddenly potentially getting COVID. So, we'll see. We'll see who is and isn't there, but I am planning to be there.
Cool.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that I sent you in the chat earlier. There is there's some dread lip happening on Humble Bundle.
Right.
So if you guys can't if you can't swing that $1 It's All Pizza money for Patreon at patreon.com/Grawlix podcast, you could just treat yourself to a little bit of the dread lip and get those Judge Dredd comics from Humble Bundle if you use our affiliate link, grawlixpodcast.com/humble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They've been loading up, because I still haven't pulled the trigger on that Doctor Who bundle, but I think I'm going to. They've been loading these comic bundles up, because I was like looking at the Doctor Who one the other day. How many books? Because they're each like a trade. It's like 56. This Dredd one, and it's Judge Dredd, and it's got some other Dredd adjacent and 2000 AD stuff in there. That's 54. That's 54 trades. Actually, some of them are like multiple books, actually.
Yeah, Randy was like, is it worth it?
1 through 4. So you're looking at like well over probably 60 trade paperbacks. Man.
Yeah.
Good deal. Those are good deals.
Yep.
Do it.
We were sitting there weighing the options, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of books. That's a lot of books.
Yeah.
No one can read that many books.
Well, the Dread lip, that is a callback. That's a callback,
Right,
man.
right. I had to
Dread
mention
lip,
that one.
If you want the whole bundle, 54 items, it's only $25.
Whew.
I think
You can't get like one digital comic sometimes for that. Like if you were
Right.
to get one of those Marvel Epic collections, you'd get way less page count for about the same price as you're getting for these Humble Bundles.
The Ballad of Halo Jones.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about you guys? Is there anything coming up for either of you?
Sometime this month I will be putting out an album. I know that was supposed to happen last month, but it's before I started working on a music video that I was like, oh, I should release this coinciding with the album, and then I didn't realize it was going to take like 3 months to do. The last music video only took like 3 weeks. But yeah, so this month sometime the music video is super close to being done. The majority of it's done. The album's pretty much ready. I need to do some mastering still and album art, but I will be releasing that stuff at least by the end of the month. Right now I'm looking at July 29th because it seems like a lot of album releases still happen on Fridays. And I was looking at the first album I released as Super Science, and it was July 31st, 8 years ago, I think. So I was like, okay, yeah, we'll do about the same time. So, yeah. 4 albums in 8 years isn't bad.
I mean, for somebody that's like doing his own podcast, also a freelancer, and doing this on the side, that's
Right.
pretty good.
Right, the music isn't the primary focus. Yeah, exactly. I'm still excited for this album though. It's I like the tone. I like it. It's weird though. It's all over the place. In a good way. You're gonna like it, everyone. Melanie, you got anything exciting coming up?
I'm gonna make a spaceship for my inflatable alien.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be cool. We'll post a picture when it's done. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, people of the future. And have a good weekend or week or whenever you listen to this.
Have a good life.
Yeah. Not like Nietzsche.
Oh, I know what I was going to say earlier. Oh, I see there's a new season of Handmaid's Tales coming out. Why? We're living it. It's called America.
Right. Yeah.
All right, GrawlixPodcast.com. You get more of that if you go there. More of this if you go there. One of those things.